Good morning, Mountain Home from Morgan Park area of Duluth, where it's a balmy 22 degrees and overcast. This after a number of days of single digits and cold temperatures. And I just thought, as a way of welcome, I'd show you the place that worship is being hosted today. The diaconate has yet to come in and get things ready. It's early morning still, but I wanted to show you United Protestant Church. This was built by the steel plant in J.P. Morgan back in the early 20s. This was an intentional steel plant community and has wonderful acoustics and built so solid if there's ever a tornado, this is where I would want to be. But mostly, I wanted to record a greeting to say thank you. Thank you for adapting to this type of worship experience for a call sermon. It's not the norm, but we know it's different times, and I really wish I could be there with you, not just ease the transition for you, but there's a spirit in the room when people gather together that fills every part of worship, and missing that is a difficult thing. So we do what we can and we adapt. In that spirit, I thought I'd give you a few little heads up to ease the transition, things we do just a little differently in worship here. First of all, we always begin worship with a hymn sing, a casual hymn sing. People will shout out their favorite hymns and we'll sing a verse or two. Think of this as like getting a car warmed up before you drive it on a really cold day. It gets us all settled in our seats and feeling the spirit before worship begins. And it's fun, and those songs sit in your head all day like that. But so we begin that way. We do retain some of the traditional transitional elements of a traditional worship service, the Gloria Patri after passing of the peace. This church, of any that I've ever been at, has a wild activity when passing of the peace comes. They're out of their chairs just about everywhere, and the musicians and I call the Gloria Patri the sort of holy border collie that brings the sheep back to worship. But we do that even though we're just saying a collective hello instead of shaking hands all around. And likewise, as we're not passing the plate and processing with the plate and offering, those traditional parts of the service, those traditional bits of music are really important for us to sustain those comforts in times of difficulty and transition like we're in. One other note, I wanted to share that we'll block out in the video our time of joys and concerns. After the sermon and offering, we do joys and concerns, and that is because a lot of personal names are mentioned and all of this is going on video. That's a part that really is missed because as we transition into the pastoral prayer, that energy in the room and that sharing comes into that prayer we do together significantly. I don't know how to replace that. I really don't. Perhaps you can press pause at that time and share your own joys and concerns. And when you're done, bring it back to the pastoral prayer. I don't know. But I will share some of the things I'm prepared to hear and prepared to lift up. We have 3 in our church that are down with COVID right now. 1 in the hospital right now. One person who had a significant relapse of mental illness and one that had a significant alcoholic relapse. These may or may not be mentioned, but we also have a funeral on Monday for a beloved church member. I know I want to lift up people missing their family at Christmas, but I also want to lift up, there was a whole bunch of houses in this town decided to get together and make snow angels in their front yards as a Christmas Day celebration in the bright sunshine. That's one that's really worth adding. And we made our best effort of cooking and serving and delivering meals to homebounds in our community, but were stopped by a pretty big blizzard the day before Christmas. So all of that will be lifted up and so much more by the time we enter prayer. So I wanted to share that with you. Lastly, I'll share that the sermon that you'll hear, I don't believe there's such a thing as a generic sermon anywhere that I could just replace in any church. The spirit of the people, the walk we're doing together, influences every bit of what I'm preaching on a Sunday. We have been working on, in our theology and in our faith growth together, overall idea of active participation and compared to passive observance in our faith and our ministry. And you'll hear some of that obviously in the sermon coming up. But it's good to remember that one of the reasons we're talking about this is this church is facing a transition as well. Just as you're accepting or receiving a call of a new pastor, they're losing a pastor and going through a transition. And in those times, it's so important that churches lean on the comforts and the love of the congregational power that is, the Pentecost power that we all have together. So that's definitely influencing the sermon as well. Okay, I've talked your ear off and we haven't even begun worship. So I haven't even done my hair yet for this morning, but let's take this time, still our minds, open our hearts to receive the presence of God. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you. I really hope this all goes as my hopes and dreams do. We trust that God has an amazing plan, and we just step forward as best we are able. So peace be with you, and hope to talk to you again very soon. Take care.